small businesses are being disproportionately hit by delays, shortages, and other supply chain disruptions ahead of the holiday season, losing out to giant corporations Walmart and Amazon, which are spending millions to charter their own ships and planes to ship products. According to the Washington Post, mom and pop shops are now last in line to get merchandise from manufacturers. Meanwhile, millions of Americans continue to pay top dollar prices for gasoline, groceries, and used cars, prompting Goldman Sachs to issue a warning that inflation will likely get worse before it gets better.
Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm has said she hopes gas prices will not reach an average price of $4 per gallon, but when asked about the plan to increase oil production in America, she appeared to lose her composure. Let's watch.
In Sturgis, Michigan, it is $2.89 a gallon. I guess that's better than in California. What is the Granholm plan to increase oil production in America?
Oh, my God. That is hilarious. Would that I had the magic wand on this. As you know, of course, oil is a global market. It is controlled by a cartel. That cartel is called OPEC, and they made a decision yesterday that they were not going to increase beyond what they were already planning.
I mean, Rena, isn't she kind of right? So anyway, Team Rising's here.
I actually ran into Jennifer Granholm in the elevator yesterday. We were in an elevator.
In this building?
Not in this building, another building. We were in the elevator together for 30 seconds. I will say she did not care that I was not wearing a mask. So.
Did you ask her when she's going to get gas prices down?
I didn't have enough time. I wish I could have gotten to it. Anyway, Jennifer Holdsworth Karp is a Democratic strategist and owner of JC Strategies. Rena Shaw is an advisor at the Renew Democracy Initiative. They both join us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, Rena, the question is kind of ridiculous. Like, what's the guy think that you get an oil well going out in Kansas? You pump that sucker hard enough, and boom, you're going to get so much oil out that gas prices are going to go down? Jennifer, what's your read on that?
Yeah, I actually think her response was spot on. You know, it is ridiculous to say that there would be a Granholm plan, and by extension, a Biden administration plan to immediately reduce the prices. If he had asked her a significant question about OPEC and increasing domestic production.
Well, Jennifer, let me cut in real quick. I think there could be a plan to reduce prices. You could force you could pressure OPEC. You could do things, but he specifically was referring to drilling.
Correct, which is what I was about to say.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. You can have a plan and talk about increased domestic production. You can talk about renewables. You can talk about a gas tax moratorium, all to reduce the prices. But in terms of actual drilling, it was supposed to be a gotcha question, and I think her answer was spot on. I mean, I know that there was a kerfuffle in the Twitterverse about her laughing at it, but it was a laughable question. You have to ask an honest question about OPEC in order to reduce the long-term price effect on America. You can't just talk about domestic drilling and domestic production. So it was a little bit of a ridiculous question.
Yeah. Rena, what's your take? And what do you think about, so obviously, we're facing supply chain issues, the difficulty the manufacturers are having shipping, and I think this is creating a lot of understandable frustration among people at the Biden administration. Then the Biden administration tries to say, well, there's pandemic issues, there's other issues. It's a nebulous problem. There's no one easy solution. Of course, you could have the people at the ports work longer hours. There are some things you could do, labor issues, other things. What's your take?
Well, Robbie, you bring up a number of good things, and let's not forget we're sitting in fall 2021. Thanksgiving is upon us. There's talk of pre-pandemic levels of travel that will happen this holiday because people are vaccinated and excited to gather again. So what's that mean? They want to get in their cars, and when they head to the pump, man, Republicans are banking on them being really frustrated by the pain at the pump that they used to message on back when I was on Capitol Hill. But to Secretary Granholm's response, she's somebody that I've actually was glad to see her pick, but very disappointed disappointed in that laugh. I mean, she was almost acting as somebody asked her if the sky was green. It's not ridiculous to ask about America's energy independence and talking about getting our nation to a place where we could do that potentially. Drill, baby, drill was an old again message of the Republican era that is not going to work right now. A lot of Americans now know that with Democrats in power, there's going to be a lot of talk about being greener, cleaner, all of that. And that's all fine and well. But where is the talk about an all of the above energy approach? That's what I think is missing. And for people like me who do love renewables, I've made my career on the right. I'm pretty right-leaning. I'm pretty centrist these days in how I vote. But one of the most important issues to me is conservation. But I'm really frustrated by the lack of talk of nuclear and really just talking about how do we stop this terrible reliance we have on the Middle East. And we've had it for decades, Robbie. You know this. This is just the most frustrating talk
Right.
because it feels like we've gone from one extreme to the other. And the secretary, I wish, would sort of like come to the middle and really take some of these questions seriously.
Well, yeah, and Jennifer, on the politics of it, we can acknowledge that the question is idiotic. That you're not going to be able to drill tomorrow and reduce gas prices as a result of that. But we can also acknowledge that politically speaking, to be seen as laughing at the idea, she's going to be seen as laughing at the idea of high gas prices and the idea that the Biden administration could do anything about it. That does seem politically problematic, isn't it?
I think it was an optics problem, but she was clearly laughing at the question. She wasn't laughing at the prices based on the rest of her answer. But if you only show the clip where she laughs, then yes, it looks like she's looking at then she's laughing at gas prices, but that's not what she was laughing at.
Yeah. The mainstream media would have you thinking Americans are flooded with cash. According to the New York Times, Americans are in a better financial position than they have been in many years, while they believe the economy is in terrible shape. But if you look at economic data, the median personal income in the United States is just shy of $36,000. While the average is $72,000 per year, the most common numbers are in the $24,000 range. So obviously that's a big difference. If you're in the 70,000s, you're doing pretty good, especially certain parts of the country that it gives you a lot better, more purchasing power. In the 20,000s, you're not doing particularly well, especially if you're supporting a family. Maybe if you're a enterprising young person beginning their career, that's fine. And then there are parts of the country where even that isn't nearly enough to live on. What do you think, Rena?
Well, I'm concerned about entrepreneurs, and I'm also concerned about the tax code and Biden's tax plan for people who work with the new gig economy as well. Making money on the side. Side hustles are pretty common, especially with young moms like myself. People have been able to find new ways to augment their income. So a lot of the talk about how salaries look these days and in what part of the country has to get hyper-specific, has to get regional. I've heard a lot of talk also from the right about how Americans are flush with cash. And in the past couple of weeks of talk on infrastructure as well as Build Back Better, we heard Republicans make the case that, well, states are flush with all this cash from the federal government. So shouldn't that be making its way down to people as well? So I think right now we're in a moment of genuine, sheer confusion of okay, what is the Biden administration going to do for the very average American that wants to move from working class to middle class? That's a conversation
right,
that
exactly.
I think will serve the Biden administration far better to start that conversation in the holidays now and let it lead all the way up to 2022 and how they are going to help those people move stations.
Right. And Jennifer, what should Democrats be doing about gas prices?
Right. Well, one of the things and I actually agree with Rena that the tax question and the way that Democrats are framing it right now is problematic because in this country, we very much are focused on income when we should be focused on wealth. If you look at the millennial and Gen Z generation and even the younger Gen X generation, they have the least amount of wealth built in the history of generations since World War II in this country. That's a problem. And when you talk about zero in on something like the gas tax specifically, it's not the gas tax, it's the tax. That's the problem. And it's one area that Democrats get very, very wrong in policy and messaging. Onerous taxes are one of the things that prevents social and upward mobility when you have not built wealth and you are only focused on income. When you think about somebody who makes $24,000 a year, even if that's a young person just starting out, most likely they are living either in an urban center or a suburban with a high cost of living. Those are poverty wages in any of those areas across the country. And we're not even reaching that level in some of the rural areas of the country. So if we're going to have a holistic tax conversation in this country, we need to focus on wealth and not income. And that's something that the Democrats get egregiously wrong every time we have the conversation.
That's a good point. Thank you to you both for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And we'll be back with more Rising right after this.